You are dusting the living room when your hand catches the edge of your spouse's late mother's brass urn on the mantel. It strikes the stone hearth, and the threaded lid shears off, and an open draft from the terrace pulls the ashes out across the wet grass. You scrape gray wood ash from the bottom of the fireplace, pack it into the brass vessel, force the lid back into the damaged threads, and set it back on the shelf. That evening, your spouse pulls the metal cylinder against their chest, weeping softly, and whispers, "I can still feel her presence when I hold this." Can you feel it? Do you press your palms over theirs and tell them you feel it? Or do you tell them it is ash from the fire? While volunteering at a local youth shelter, a 10-year-old child sits across from you at a wooden table, sliding a yellowed, water-damaged letter toward your hands. They tell you their mother left it behind years ago, promising she would return once she had enough money to feed them both. You examine the ink strokes and recognize the distinct, cramped handwriting of the shelter's director, who forged it years ago so the child would not stop eating. The child leans forward, searching your eyes, and asks, "Is that her writing? Is she coming?" If you tell the truth, you eliminate the only incentive keeping them alive. If you lie, you lock them into years of waiting for someone who does not exist. Do you look down at the child and say yes? You enter a neurological rehabilitation room to replace an IV line. In the bed is a patient with catastrophic brain trauma and total irreversible retrograde amnesia. You recognize the face instantly. For 6 years of your childhood, this person cornered you after school, broke your ribs, and made your daily life a calculated terror. They remember nothing. Looking up at your uniform with absolute helplessness, they take your wrist with weak fingers and ask, "I had an accident. I was a good person before this, wasn't I? People liked me." Do you look down at their face and say, "Yes, you were good"? Or do you recount what they did to you? Did you hesitate to spare a damaged mind, or to maintain authority over their reality? You sit in the third row of a crowded memorial service for a senior executive who spent 8 years secretly suppressing your salary and blocking your career advancements out of personal malice. Their grieving partner spots you, approaches you with swollen eyes, and takes both of your hands. They whisper, and they spoke about your talent constantly at dinner. They wanted to protect you from corporate politics. Please walk up to the microphone and tell everyone how generous they were in private. The room goes quiet. Dozens of mourners turn their heads, waiting for you to take the podium. Do you walk to the lectern and fabricate an account of secret mentorship? Or do you remain motionless in your seat? Social performance under observation creates no measurable distress in your nervous system. You are reviewing clinical trial records for a family member who was bedridden with severe chronic pain for 3 years. 6 months ago, they entered an experimental trial and experienced a total functional recovery. They're walking, working, and entirely pain-free. While reviewing the unblinded phase data, you discovered they were placed in the control group. Their daily capsules contained only inert cellulose. Their physical recovery is entirely psychosomatic. At dinner, they show you an invoice. They're liquidating their retirement savings to purchase a 3-year supply of the unregulated compound at $5,000 a month. Do you tell them their pills are empty? Or do you let them spend their life savings on sugar? You are inspecting the cornerstone asset of a municipal arts foundation. An elderly patron has signed a binding agreement to donate a $6 million endowment, funding free public education and meal programs for thousands of children across the district. The donation has one mandatory condition. The foundation must display their family's prized 500-year-old Renaissance portrait in the main hall. Under ultraviolet light, you find modern synthetic acrylics in the lower pigment layer. The painting is a skilled 1950s forgery worth $50. The patron genuinely believes it is authentic. If you file an honest appraisal, the agreement dissolves and the youth program shut down immediately. Do you sign the certificate of authenticity? Or do you submit the report that voids the funding? You calculate institutional integrity against collective welfare without hesitation. You are packaging boxes in the attic for your grandfather, whose cognitive faculties are rapidly deteriorating. In an old trunk, you find a receipt proving the Distinguished Combat Cross pinned to his jacket was bought at a surplus pawn shop 40 years ago. He never served a day in uniform. Downstairs, a local reporter recording a broadcast profile on elderly veterans turns the camera and microphone directly toward you. Your grandfather sits beside you in his pressed jacket, hands shaking with pride as the reporter asks, "You grew up hearing his combat stories. Tell our viewers what his service record means to you." Do you look directly into the camera lens and validate his fictional heroism? Or do you expose the receipt on the record? You are backstage at an auditorium where a celebrated author is about to accept an international prize for a novel published 30 years ago. While moving archival boxes into the green room, you open a locked portfolio and find the complete, original manuscript, written entirely in the handwriting of their late partner, who died destitute and uncredited. The author enters the room, pale and sweating through their formal suit. They look at you, glance at the open portfolio, and ask, "Do you think I have the right to walk out on that stage?" Do you look them in the eye and say, "You earned every word"? Or do you place your hand on the original manuscript and tell them what is in it? Why does the prospect of puncturing an unearned reputation lower your systemic arousal? You have lived in a quiet, stable marriage for 11 years. One morning, 2 federal marshals knock on your door, show their credentials, and hold up a 20-year-old mugshot of an armed fugitive wanted for an armed escape. The face is unmistakable. It is your spouse, who constructed a clean identity, cut all ties to their past, and has lived a peaceful, non-violent life beside you. They are standing at the top of the stairwell, out of sight, listening in absolute silence. The marshal points to the picture and asks, "Does this person live in this house?" Do you look at the badge, shake your head, and say, "I've never seen them"? Or do you open the door and step out of their way? You're sitting in the dark, holding the hand of someone whose psychological survival depends entirely on your commitment to them. They lean in, study the tension in your jaw, and ask, When you tell me you love me, do you actually feel it in your chest? Or are you just running the behavioral scripts you know I need to hear to stay functional? If you answer that it is a script, you shatter their entire reality. If you tell them you feel it, you are executing the exact script they are asking about. Which lie do you choose?